welcome to another side quest episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm your left side of the microphone host, Madeline.
I'm your right side of the microphone host, Emma, as in the correct side.
Oh, wow. I really set that up.
Yeah.
I wasn't even sure, though. I was like, am I going to do stage left or am I going to do a house left? And I went for stage left and I paid the price.
Oh, yeah, I guess if the listeners are the microphone and are facing us, then you are on the right and I am on the left.
So I'm on the right side after all. Alright, I better keep talking before that's the end of the episode. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We've got a lot to talk about on this side quest this week. Emma and I were talking before the show, as we always do, about what the show is going to be about. Because I feel like we used to do these without really fully talking that through.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, it was less successful.
Yeah.
Than when we at least talked about the outline.
Yeah.
We were thinking with the weather report in particular. It was just too much.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a jam-packed side quest this week. And it's a good thing because we're jam-packed in front of one microphone here at Talk This DC HQ. So let's jump on in. Without any further ado, I think I've been saying that a lot.
You always say that. That is your signature phrase.
I almost stopped myself. It just came out of my mouth. Like, I couldn't stop it. So without any further ado, Emma, what have you been playing these past 2 weeks?
Well, more than on our last side quest, that's
Thank
for
goodness.
Sure. So, my main project has been trying to play through God of War, finally. It's been on my backlog for I guess like a year-ish. I can't really say a very, very long time because it's only been out for a little over a year. But yeah, I've been waiting to get around to it for about a year. And I've gotten back into it, and I'm not great at it. I mean, it's fine. The normal difficulty isn't particularly, demanding because I'm somehow muddling my way through it.
Yeah, I didn't see you die in the hour.
No, I haven't died. I just get very close to death. You know?
Isn't that kind of the prime difficulty level, though?
I guess. I don't know.
Isn't that what you want?
I'm not very good at remembering what all the buttons do in the heat of the moment. Especially since there's, button combinations that make Kratos do different axe attacks that can be really helpful, but when I want to do them, I can't remember which one it is, and so I do the wrong one, or just block, or something. Mostly it's been a lot of pressing square to Atreus.
Lean on the boy.
Just to make him shoot all the arrows so that they stay away from me.
As Mom said, man, you just really let the boy go out there.
Look at him just standing there shooting his arrows while you stand back. It's like, yep, that's my parenting style. It seems very in character. Mostly I've really enjoyed the photo mode.
Oh my god, it's scary.
I'm very addicted to the photo mode. I understand why everybody wants photo mode in every single game now, and what the appeal of it is. Just you activate it with a single button press, and then you can take beautifully composed photos / terrifying ones when you make Kratos smile.
Photo mechanics are the new dress-up mechanics.
Yeah. Honestly, if I could dress them up in addition to, put on filters, give Kratos, a little cat face or something.
No.
Sony Santa Monica, call me.
She's got some great ideas. Mm-hmm. Make inroads with the casual gamers.
Yes. I also bought and played a little bit of The Longest Journey, which we're talking about next week, but I'll leave that for the episode itself. The other thing I've been doing, and this isn't really playing, but okay, so a bit of setup. So the Ace Attorney series, I really enjoy the Ace Attorney series, right? And so the Ace Attorney series also has some spin-offs, one of which follows Miles Edgeworth, who's the prosecutor in the first game. And then the original creator, after working on Apollo Justice, he didn't feel like he was getting to do exactly what he wanted with the main series, so he went off and he made his own spin-off called The Great Ace Attorney, is basically the translation.
How is that allowed? But okay.
It's with the same company and everything.
Okay,
so it's fine.
That's how it's allowed. I got it.
So it's set in the past with a distant ancestor of Phoenix, which isn't, it's not particularly important. It's just, he is, right? But it has never been localized. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's because they do such extreme localization for the Ace Attorney series. They change all the names and stuff. But I don't think that's entirely true. In fact, and I was going to look into this a little bit more before I talked about it on the podcast, but I forgot. But there's a character in it who is based on Sherlock Holmes. His name's Sherlock Holmes. He's an investigator. He does Sherlock Holmes thing. And so you might be saying, wait, but Sherlock Holmes is in the public domain now. And you're almost right, except there were 2 books published posthumously that are not in the public domain. And so when you put Sherlock Holmes in and don't get permission and everything, they can sue you over those 2 books. And they're about 2 years out from being in the public domain. So I think that Capcom is well, the amount of money we're going to make isn't worth the legal fees, probably.
Man, U.S. copyright law is really just a mess.
But I'm saying this because pretty recently a fan group finished translating the first game in the series. It's a pretty... they're doing this for free, and it's a whole lot of work, right? So, good on them on that already. But it's a very literal translation. So it's very, one-to-one, with, puns changed a little bit, but some of the jokes get a little lost. But whatever, still. But that's all to say that I've been watching people playing this game in English to see what all the fuss is about. Because a lot of Ace Attorney aficionados say that the 2 great Ace Attorney games are some of their favorites in the series. And the first game that I've watched so far is really, really good. It adds some really fun new mechanics. All the characters are very fun. There's some interesting stuff with the fact that there's the time period, and there's a lot of relationships between Japan and Britain at the time that make for very interesting dynamics. And even without adding the mechanics, the cases have really fun spins on them, and the way that they end, and the way that the criminals carry out their crimes and stuff. And yeah, I've been really, really enjoying it.
Well, nice.
Watson is a small girl child.
Of course.
Yeah.
As in every adaptation, really.
Very smart, small girl child, which is probably the best part of it. And it's got really great music. And Sherlock Holmes' theme is constantly running through my head. It's never stopped.
Still doing it right now.
It's going right now. And then we've been playing stuff together because, if our intro didn't fill you in, we are currently at the Talk This DC HQ together.
Woo!
So Malin, what's the very exciting news of the weekend?
So after years of calling for its release on this podcast, which I really think we probably should have at least gotten a special thanks somewhere for the work that we did to make this happen. Mm-hmm. Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled came out.
Yeah!
And so, of course, I don't buy fancy special edition versions of games very often, or ever, really. Mostly I buy $3 PS3 old used versions of GameStop versions of games. But I decided in this case, because I know that Emma has her pin and obsession, and because, I don't know what the DLC is going to be, and why not just pay for it now? I realize it's a bad thing. I shouldn't do that. But I did it anyway. So I got the Super Deluxe pack, and we've been playing it today. And wow, it looks great.
Yeah.
One, almost to the detriment of gameplay.
Yeah.
It looks so great that I sometimes have trouble in the new tracks, or the new to me tracks, knowing where to go. Because there's so much going on in the background.
Yeah.
But it looks awesome. I'm appreciating, I don't know, in a dumb way, it's fun to be able to earn the new character skins.
Yeah.
I like that the money mechanic is not a real life money mechanic.
Yeah.
I appreciate the incredible faithfulness to the source material.
Yeah.
Especially even in the intro.
Yeah.
The fact that they recreated that iconic box opening intro, that was above and beyond the Call of Duty there. And we've even managed to get everyone in the household, minus the dogs, to give it a try.
We're working on the dogs. They're being stubborn about it.
Yeah, they're not ready yet. They don't think we're ready yet.
Yeah.
Also the lack of thumbs.
That is a detriment.
Yeah, I don't know. Emma, do you have thoughts?
I really like a lot of it's really faithful, and even the first sound of clicking the menu is the same sound. But on that note, a lot of the sounds are different, and I think it's a lot better for it. Like, all the explosions feel really satisfying when they go off, and, like, when you hit people, it feels really satisfying, and the boosts feel really satisfying, and a lot of it is, like, the slight vibrations, I think, and also, like, the new sound design of the courses, which I was appreciating a lot as we were doing it.
We are having a hard time a little bit adjusting to some of the control tweaks, or, like, the power tweaks, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Namely, now that bombs seem to be actually usable, right? Because they actually have a blast radius now, which was not a thing before.
Yeah.
But missiles seem to have been nerfed a little bit in terms of their tracking accuracy.
Yeah, they get very confused when you're, like... There's, like, a very optimal distance you have to be in order to use a missile. Like, if they're too close, it'll get really confused. If it's too far away, it'll just veer off and hit something
else. And they don't
else.
handle elevation changes well at all, which I feel like was not... I mean, not that they were great, but I feel like that's worse in this one.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that's a bad thing, just as people who've been playing the old version of this game, we were trying to figure out today when we got it and couldn't quite track it down. But people who've been playing the old version of this game for, like, solidly, honestly, probably almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
It's been taking a little bit of adjusting. Similarly, the hitbox for the boxes, I feel like, has become a little bit trickier.
Yeah.
Because I just don't remember missing power-up boxes at this rate before.
Yeah. I definitely did it sometimes, but it really feels like you have to, like, aim for the boxes now, which is interesting.
I am excited that they've really amped up the difficulty of the AI.
Oh, yeah.
It's frustrating because I like to win, but it definitely, again, as people that have been playing these games forever, it's refreshing to have an actual kind of AI challenge, which I feel like is not something that I mostly feel is the case anymore, except maybe, I mean, I don't do that much of the time trials, right? Mm-hmm. Except maybe in those. And in that case, it's not really an AI challenge, it's just you're trying to beat a fake guy.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that it's not just going to be like a walk in the park that I get bored of, that it actually feels like a challenge. That said, man, the new levels are hard.
Yeah, we never had Nitro Kart, so those content are different for us.
I don't know if that's true. I really think we had it and didn't like it as much.
We have no memory of Nitro Kart, so these tracks are entirely new to us, which has been interesting experiences.
Exactly. And in case anyone, forgets or is recruiting, I'm here to be a Crash Team Racing esports competitor.
You been playing anything else?
Yeah, so I've been playing more of Nier. I don't remember how much I had played when we talked last time. I feel like it was not that much. And enjoying that. It's been refreshing to play a game that I don't actually know very much about what's going to happen in Nier, except obviously that you're going to play through the game. There are a couple of playthroughs. Mm-hmm. So it's been interesting and a little bit anxiety-inducing to play a game where I really don't know what's coming next, or if I can lock myself out of stuff or that kind of thing, or how much grinding to do. Mm-hmm. This is something that I think is going to continue to be like a little bit, refreshing to me as someone who's still relatively recent to the current gen consoles. Mm-hmm. And also, a lot of the games that I've been playing so far have been either not super like narrative driven or not, unfamiliar to me in terms of structure. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't know how Kingdom Hearts 3 was going to end or exactly how long it was going to be, but I knew how that goes.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting to play Nier, which is not only sort of a different combat style and completely different vibe, but also feels like venturing into wild terrains unknown. But I'm really enjoying it. Killing some robots, befriending some robots, having a grand old time. In addition to that, I am so close to finishing Assassin's Creed. I really think that I only have a couple hours left to go. So, I've done all of the assassinations now. I think. Yes. And now there's just, like, some other thing.
Next up, Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah, everyone tells me Assassin's Creed 2 is substantially better. Click My Boyfriend is saying it, the internet is saying it, everyone is saying it. So I guess I am going to have to continue to Assassin's Creed 2. Maybe I'll take a break.
That's fair.
I only paid $3 for the game, so I don't feel like I won't feel too bad if I don't play it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I should probably be trying to play games that are newer than that, maybe.
It's good to stock up on your gaming history, though, your gaming classics.
Yeah, it's true. I think that's mostly the substantial stuff I've been playing.
Well then, speaking of gaming classics.
And substantial stuff.
Oh. Thanks for saying that, Malin, so I didn't have to.
You're welcome.
We're moving on to the weather report. So, this episode has a bit of a theme in that we're diving into the discourse. So, if you've already been on Twitter all week, we apologize to already have to...
You can't escape.
You can't escape it, and you're going to have to drown here with us.
Let's see if my Twitter... Start talking. Let's see if my Twitter is still only about this.
So... when E3 came around, Square Enix had a conference, and something that people were looking forward to was the reveal of the new model for Tifa, who is the second leading lady of Final Fantasy VII. She's a punchy girl, and she was well known for her ample bust size. And there was some discourse.
Well, okay, quote unquote bust, right? You've seen what these models look like, right? People they don't even look like Lego characters, but okay, continue.
Yeah, it's honestly on the Final Fantasy VII models, it would be hard to have small.
Subtle.
Yeah, it's either you're flat chested or you've got big polygons coming out of your chest. But they're also FMV things when the battles play that are a little bit more detailed or whatever. But her model came out, and there was some discourse on whether or not Square Enix had shrunk her chest size.
I don't even want to call it discourse.
Exacerbated by an interview in which they sort of said, that was translated kind of badly, apparently, in which they said their ethics department said that they should restrict Tifa's breasts more. And basically what they were saying is, just give her a sports bra and some shorts under her.
Everywhere.
Yeah, so it's fits in with everybody else during battle is basically what they're saying. And the ethics department is just somebody who makes sure that everything is falling within the target ESRB guidelines.
And I think also making sure they're not tripping any triggers in other countries.
Yes, yeah. So they're not just being ethical. they're not joshing it up.
I'll have to talk to my boyfriend. I'll be like, you really need to take ethics seriously because this could be a real job for you.
Yeah. So she basically, the difference is that she is wearing a sports bra in this version. Which, if you did not know how a sports bra works, it sort of pushes everything in so that when you move around, nothing's bouncing, and once therefore nothing's bouncing, nothing hurting when you're moving around, right? It makes it so it's easier to do the things that Tifa does, which is kicking and punching, right?
And to be clear, things are still bouncing. They just aren't hurting you.
Yeah.
As they for all you idiots out there, you're still gonna probably get some boob bouncing action.
Jiggle physics is the gamer term.
Okay. Let's just call a spade a spade, okay? We can talk woman to man here.
It's just, and they're somebody, I don't even know where this is from, but somebody had screenshotted it that was now we see Tifa in her modest B cup. It's what you can see doesn't even look like a B cup, and considering that she's constricted by a sports bra, she probably has gigantic boobs, honestly.
It's just all these people that have never seen a bra before.
No, they've never seen a bra or apparently a real human woman. What was the other thing? Oh, there somebody was has sports bras ever been a concept in Midgard before this point, or did they retcon it in?
It's has Tifa been incredibly uncomfortable this entire time?
You can't retcon a sports bra. That's not how things work. We didn't even get to the weather, but whether or not Tifa's boobs have been shrunk, and the answer is a pretty definitive no.
Well, okay, here's the thing. I want somebody to make a model for me that has them the size they are in the polygon version, because they will be
well,
out to...
I mean,
they'll be the size of her arms. Show me
it's
that
comparison to not just the polygon version, but like they have more detailed models in the fight sequences, and there's like FMV cutscenes, and Advent Children exists.
Right.
So it's in comparison to all those Tifa models.
Although I feel like somebody said, I mean, it seems that a lot of their models are much more based on Advent Children than anything else.
Yeah.
And I feel like somebody said that this is more consistent with how she looked in that.
Yes. Yeah.
But
a lot of fans don't like Advent Children, so maybe they're just pretending it doesn't exist.
Fair enough. Well, they shrunk, what's the big guy's name?
Barrett?
They shrunk his too.
They did.
They put a sports bra on Barrett too. Nobody seems pissed about that.
Yeah. No, everybody's upset about Cloud's hands and Aerith's antenna instead.
I did see a few people who seemed genuinely a little miffed that Cloud's hair isn't as spiky.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? I can get behind that argument much, much more than this. And even that, I can't really get behind.
Yeah.
So, yeah, even GameSpot wrote a lovely, helpful article about how bra sizes work for anyone who needs it. It's just like...
I'm glad we spent the week on that.
I'm glad that literally this is the only thing Twitter could talk about. Except... Well, wait, though. Wait. I want to talk about this just a teeny bit more.
Okay.
Not about this specifically, but about remakes and such in general.
Sure, go ahead.
How faithful are we expecting? Is it allowed for us to expect things to be? Like, I'm taking great joy out of Crash Team Racing being so faithful to what it was. And that is making me not feel empathy. That's way too strong.
Yeah.
In this case. Because a lot of what I'm enjoying is the fact that they don't look like masses of polygons.
Yeah.
They look like nice, but it's also the thing that I remember. And so that gives me just a little bit of like, okay, I sort of kind of could see where you were coming from if this was about anything that mattered even a little bit. But is it... like, in this case, obviously it feels super charged because really what it is they're saying, like, I want my, like, big booby women.
Yeah.
But when inevitably people get pissed because they've changed things in the game, how much of that should I sympathize with?
I think it always depends on the context, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was trying to think of something like this, and, like, I don't have anything that has changed that much, right? Like, there's no game from, like, my childhood or my growing phase as a gamer that doesn't look basically like the same way it was.
I'm a little grumpy that I'll never be able to get the ultimate weapon in Kingdom Hearts ever again.
Why?
Because they made it so much harder in the final mix.
Oh, I see. I guess. But that's not the same.
I realize it's not the same. I was just
like
trying to get
our games from childhood, even Crash, like, even though it looks so much better now, like, it looks basically the same, right? Like, there's nothing that is as extreme a thing as the Final Fantasy VII to Final Fantasy VII Remake for me.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to fully appreciate the, I'm sure, complicated feelings that some people have with the remake.
But what do you think, though?
What?
You just completely dodged my question.
What do I think? I said it. I think it depends on the context.
Okay, so if you were Nomura.
Yeah.
1, congrats.
Thanks.
But 2, how would you play this? Like, how faithful are you going to be?
I mean, Nomura does what Nomura wants, man.
Okay, I'm not asking, I'm asking you
it's already, like, so, like, the first volume of this is just Midgar.
Yeah.
2 discs of Midgar.
I know.
It's already way beyond the scope of what Final Fantasy VII was.
Possible?
There's tons of areas in Midgard that you weren't able to go to.
Right, but how is it possible that any game in 2019 takes 2 discs?
Red Dead Redemption 2 took 2 discs.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
But that's gigantic.
Yeah.
Who wants, no offense, super fans, like, how long was the original Final Fantasy VII?
I don't know. Hundreds. It depends on how deep you went into it. I'm sure it was at least 100 hours. That's, like, average JRPG size.
I guess. I don't know. Who wants a game that is going to take, like, 300 hours to finish?
I'm pretty excited for it.
No. I'm excited about it, but
That's why I think it's good. Actually, good that they're releasing it in chunks.
No, I think you're maybe right, as long as they actually stick to a release schedule. But yes.
They've said that now that everything is in place, that likely the development on the second installment will go smoother.
Okay. So if you're playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time, to complete it without doing like all the completionist stuff is like 40 hours.
Really?
And then to 100% it is probably more like 90 hours. Says Quora.
Yeah. I have to imagine that the fact that they're opening up so much more of Midgar means that there'll be some side questy stuff that wasn't necessarily there before, as well as like sort of adding the open world explorations type stuff that was in 15, and there's already seems to be new elements that were not in the original.
I would like to be able to play this game. That's all. I would like to be able to play it. I would like to not get stuck like a third of the way through disc 1.
I don't think you're gonna get stuck.
Not get stuck. I would like to not stall out midway.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll
That's your own problem.
I realize it's my own problem, but not all of us have time to play a 20-disc game.
It's 2 discs.
So far.
It's probably gonna be 3 episodes.
Great. Anyway, it's exciting. Let's not get angry about Tifa, everybody. Jeez.
Anyway, before Malin sidetracked us.
Sorry, I wanted to talk about it because I think it's interesting, especially in light of having played Crash Team Racing and had like the mini version of that experience.
Let's sidetrack
also on Twitter
in another direction to our off-topic corner. So, Malin, had you ever heard of
Evangelion?
Yes, sorry.
I had heard of it before.
You had heard of it before.
I don't think I could have told you anything about it except that it was an anime, but I had heard the name before.
Okay, so in case you've not heard of Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh, is it Evangelion?
I don't really know.
Okay.
Evangelion, I think.
But the G.
I think it's a G.
That's embarrassing for me. Great. That's how much I know about it.
I don't know. It is a classic anime from the 1990s from, I think it's Hideaki Anno. His last name's Anno. It's a mecha anime, which means there's big giant robots and monster fights. But it's also, like, if there's a piece of media that you could hold up and say death of the author doesn't always work, it's Evangelion, basically. Because it's very much about Anno's own personal journey with depression and anxiety, so on and so forth. But anyway, it recently came to Netflix. Hey, this is a big deal because it hasn't been available legally anywhere for like 10, 15 years or something. You would have to like track down the old like VHS releases, which generally, if you can find them, are ridiculously expensive. So it's on Netflix, and on Netflix, there's a lot of things that have people talking. One, there's a new dub. They did not recast the old dub actors, which a lot of old fans are kind of bittersweet about. 2, there's a new translation, which we'll get back to. And 3, the ending theme used to be "Fly Me to the Moon." That familiar song that we talked about last week on Bayonetta a little bit. And it is not in this version, likely because the music licensing rights would have been astronomical. But for all these reasons, everybody's a little bit upset with the Netflix release of Ava. So there's been a lot of Twitter discourse. But my favorite part, and if you read our split screens, you know this, because I'm very interested and fascinated by changes between how they translate things. And there are a lot of interesting translation changes in Ava. So I've been choosing to watch an episode a day because I've been told, and I believe it, that you shouldn't binge it. But I do know some stuff about it. Like, I know some of the most iconic parts of it and some of the broad strokes of what it's about. I don't necessarily know the finer details of the plot. But the one bit of translation that everybody's been talking about on Twitter is there's a character that turns up near the end of the series, and it's, he says, you know, out of context, but basically there's a queer relationship near the end between the main character, who's a boy, and another boy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a very famous scene where this other boy tells the main character, like, the original translation was, like, you are worthy of affection. He says, what does that mean? And he says, it means I love you, right? And that's the original translation. And now what it says is, because you are worthy of my grace. And then Shinji says, your grace? And then Kaoru says, it means I like you. Which, I've been reading a lot about it, and, like, he uses... The first line is very confusing, because there's a lot of nuance in that line that is hard to translate just to English. But focusing on the second line, he uses, like, the verb ski, which is, like, a very general form of like or love.
I really thought you meant to ski for a minute there, and I was like, that's weird.
Suki.
Okay.
So, like, there's a very strong way to say, like, really romantic love that's really not used very much in Japanese. I've read a lot of translation threads on this, so this is mostly me parroting what I've read. But ski sort of is just, like, a very vague way of saying it. Which, like, so you might think, oh, then it should be like, right? Because it's not as strong as, like, aishiteru, which is the love verb. But, like, when you say love in English, that doesn't necessarily mean, like, there's so much...
It's not as aggressive.
Yeah. It's not, like, there's so many different kinds of love that it just means blah, 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 right? It doesn't necessarily mean, like, let's run away together, Shinji, right? She's just saying, I love you. And there's aspects to this character that make like feel particularly less strong.
Yeah.
That I don't want to spoil anybody, even though this anime is very old, but it's just
it
now... It
hasn't been available, though.
Yeah,
so
it's just now readily available. And like just doesn't work, and especially not worthy of his grace.
That was weird.
But basically, like, the thing I read is, like, while you might not be able to read what the character who's saying it, what his intentions are and what he means by it, you can certainly read how the main character is taking it, right? And so when you change it to like, you're both losing the nuance of what the person is saying and how Shinji is taking it. Right? So if you can at least get one, the original translation gets one, even if it's hard to get the other, which is the problem with it. And there's a lot of these instances throughout it. That's just the one that people are latching on to. I also read that the Spanish translation of it is just basically like, I think you're pretty cool. Nobody's ever told me that I was pretty cool before.
Yikes.
Which is just, or like, I think you're neat was also a way somebody else translated it. Which is just like, wow, okay.
Who did that one?
But I'm really fascinated by it. So originally I was just going to watch one episode a day on Netflix, but now I'm watching the episode on Netflix and elsewhere, wink, to look at the differences between how they've changed it. And before you go being like, Netflix, WTF, you should know that it's probably Japan, it's coming from Japan that's making these localization changes. The studio that handles it. Apparently, so there's like rebuild films of Eva that he's like remaking it now, that he's sort of found a new place in his life or whatever.
Okay.
And the third film in the series focuses on this same relationship that I'm talking about. And there was a really infamous thing where the studio Kara, which is the studio behind it, like the Blu-ray release of this movie was delayed for like 2 years because they were doing like a really rigid retranslation for English from the theatrical release. So it's I'm interested in the psychology behind that too. Like, do they just think that in the West we don't want that, or it wouldn't be well received, or like, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird how involved they are in the English translation.
But at the same time, I cannot imagine Netflix being involved in any of its shows in that way. Yeah. Like, at that level of depth. Yeah. Or especially not a show that it is literally, like, a real Netflix original.
The thing is, like, I've also read that it's, like, a very literal translation. Right. Like, it's just very one-to-one, which is almost never the best way to translate. So it might, like, I could have believed that, like, Netflix would just, let's just, like, hire a translator and said, like, translate it. as close as possible, right? But it's probably cutting from the Japan side, not from Netflix.
Yeah, especially if this is a team that has been known to be weird about translations in the past, I just can't imagine. Well, one, Netflix has to have like either must have a translation team now that they're starting to host a lot of anime that you would have to imagine is pretty good, right?
There's some back and forth about that, apparently.
Sure. But either they have a translation team or they're outsourcing most of it, right? And I would imagine that they are probably outsourcing most of it, except for shows that they are really actually involved in producing. So I also think, I think the Fly Me to the Moon anger, whatever. I understand being upset, but also the fault is
the ending is whoever owns slightly changes every episode. So I think that you lose a little bit of that by taking out the song, apparently.
Right. And of course Netflix, something that is somewhat controversial about Netflix is their penchant for cutting off ending and beginning credits without asking you if that's what you want. Even when it cuts off stuff that's important or resonant in some way.
Another reason I can't binge it is because it would try to skip the opening of Ava, and it's so good that I would just be horribly offended.
Yeah. But I also, it's pretty clear that it's whoever holds the rights is obviously asking for a king's ransom for this.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Because Netflix has, I don't know who would be paying for this, right? I don't really have a good grasp on copyright law, again, of whether Netflix would have to pay for it or whether the company would have to pay for it. But regardless, obviously it's probably pretty important to the show. Sure, Netflix, is not wanting for cash.
I'm sure Netflix would have to purchase it. It is in the Netflix Japan version. So I imagine it has to do with different laws in different countries.
Holmes all over again.
Yes. So I think like the company that made Ava has the rights for Ava, but then to show it on Netflix would probably have to get the rights. But I understand it would probably be even with, I'm sure, a good amount of money Ava's making them, that would be
music licensing is wild.
Yeah.
How it completely is going to ruin anyone's, access to pop culture from the 90s and 2000s.
But anyway, if you're interested in anime, don't start with Ava.
Start with Agretzko.
Start with Agretzko, which also came out last week.
Which we loved.
Yes. Season 2 was very good.
Anyway, on that note...
Also, Netflix, give your dubs CCs, please. Don't just give me the Japanese subtitle track that doesn't match what they're saying on the screen.
I know it's not...
Some people like subtitles.
I know it's bad, right? I know it's not good and accessible and whatever, but I think it's funny.
I don't think it's funny.
I do. So, I watched Agretzko with the captions going when I
don't know how
yours.
You did that without making yourself sick.
It was funny. It was just, it was a little different. It was funny. I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Let me laugh at things.
Okay.
Let me have my joy.
Okay.
I didn't like it that much. I just found it amusing to see the differences. The same way you're watching your episodes twice. Give me my mini version of that.
Okay, you could watch them twice if you wanted to.
Anyway, beep beep. I'm doing Crash Team Racing. It's time for the traffic report.
Good.
It's the traffic report. Hey, I think we're back to almost a normal schedule.
Yeah,
we are back to a normal schedule. Can you believe it? There are 2 split screens and 2 clickbait boyfriends on the blog at www.talkthispodcast.com/blog. That's right, people. It only took us months, but we're back on a schedule. They aren't on the days of the week that they're supposed to be on, but that's okay. You don't care. So go watch those. The split screen is really getting down to the wire. We only have about a month remaining of Boys Over Flowers. So this is the time where if you have strong feelings about what we should watch next, you need to send us an email.
Yeah.
Or comment on the split screen or something.
Yeah. We really don't have any idea at this point.
I have people I can ask, but I would love for it to come from a listener as opposed to people I can ask.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be a K-drama.
It doesn't have to be a K-drama, but we want it to fill this void.
Yes.
So it should feel trashy, but not too trashy in the same way.
Yeah.
Definitely open to K-dramas that do that, but also open to other things. Probably want to not put in another anime.
Yeah.
In that
just
slot.
one at a time.
One at a time. Because we might need to fill in something very short with My Hero, depending on how fast we move through it and when the season 4 is actually available to us in English.
We're gonna be
It's very close, depending on when they're releasing.
We're gonna be doing My Hero for a while.
True. Also on the blog, we have Emma's Evaporating Economy E3 highlights. I like that you made it 3 E's.
It was very
clever.
hard. Economy doesn't really work, but it's fine.
It's okay. Where Emma talks about her reactions to the E3 presentations, except for EA.
Yes.
So definitely check that out. It's funny. I enjoyed it. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Talk This Podcast. And we're on YouTube at Talk This Sisters, where you can watch Emma's Play This series, go back into the Clickbait Boyfriend archive, and, if you like that Fortnite video of us, you can watch that too, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe I'll make a funny fail compilation of us doing the Crash Team Racing stuff from the video content I got.
Is there funny fails?
I don't know. I fell off the edge a lot.
Oh, I forgot that it records that much.
Yeah, it records like a half an hour, yeah.
So, yeah, Emma can make a great video, maybe, about Crash Team Racing. Yeah, look on the blog. I think I'm likely to do it 10 thoughts in 10 hours on Crash Team Racing. I might do one on Nier? Question mark? Think about it.
I'm going to have one on God of War when I finish it.
So, lots of game thoughts coming. I'm thinking about reviving Buzz This sometime soon. It's been a while. I'm hoping there are new quizzes. So, this is the time to visit our website, www.talkthispodcast.com, to learn more about the show, learn more about us, see all the blog content that you missed if you didn't follow us on social media, which I just told you to do, but hey, whatever, you do you. Maybe you're on a cleanse. I don't know your life. After this week on Twitter, I need a cleanse. But don't cleanse us from your podcast rotation. Instead, why don't you subscribe? We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora on the app, and many, many more.
Yep.
Wherever you can find podcasts, you can find Talk This. It's dangerous to podcast alone. Share the episode on social media. That's what Emma makes the blogs for.
Yep.
Handy dandy social sharing. And tell your friends. And leave us a rating and review. And just keep listening.
Heck yeah.
And on that note, we come to the question of the fortnight. So I don't think Emma and either of us have downloaded this yet.
No.
Did you ever download Pokemon Go?
No.
It's embarrassing that neither of us actually played Pokemon Go.
I've seen other people play it.
Yes, I know. You're right. It's basically the same. So if you missed it, you would be forgiven for missing it because it was sort of a surprise drop. But the new Pokemon Go type game, it's also from Niantic, right?
I think so, yeah.
Harry Potter Wizards Unite released this week, where basically, from what I've read about it, it is very much like Pokemon Go and uses the same map data. Mm-hmm. So basically what you're doing is there are these confounders that are stealing, like they're magical things that are stealing wizards, and you have to save them. And basically what I've read about it is that it sounds like Pokemon Go if Pokemon Go had kind of launched with all its mechanics. In much more interesting ways. You aren't just throwing Pokeballs at wizards. That would be weird.
Yeah, right? It would be weird.
But the game isn't getting nearly as much buzz or nearly as many players.
Well, there's been all this discourse on Twiter, so...
Yeah, everyone's been busy.
There's been no room for
Everyone's
Hogwarts
been busy
Wizards Unite.
trying to measure Tifa's fake boobs. Her virtual boobs. But I wanted to go ahead and ask. So some of the online chatter about this between all the Evangelion and Tifa chat has been about Pokemon Go being so successful because it really tapped into what was good about Pokemon.
Yeah.
And what everyone wanted to do about Pokemon. And maybe Harry Potter not being quite as successful because nobody wants to go out and be a wizard in the same way as they want to go out and catch Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go ahead and ask, now that these AR games seem to be here to stay and seem to be the bread and butter of licensed properties, what popular culture item would you like to see turned into an AR game?
I probably should have thought about this before we started recording the episode.
You're right. I was hoping that you had thought about it so I could think about it while you talked about yours.
Well, that's sure inconvenient, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, gosh. I mean, the inevitable one is Marvel's gonna have to make one, right? At some point.
Yeah.
Collect all the superheroes.
Would you like saving things?
I miss Avengers Academy.
Oh man, I forgot. Remember, Avengers Academy used to be a real staple on this podcast.
I know. was so unoptimized that, like, I had too many heroes just polluting my campus, and it was making my phone die so fast. I had to stop it.
That's so sad.
I know. Like, it just, like, you needed to, like, be able to, like, store students somewhere so they weren't all on the map all at once.
Okay, so maybe a Marvel game where sometimes, like, there are people you have to save, but you have to go and get the hero you need.
Yeah.
To.
Yeah.
Incentivize more walking.
So you are like Nick Fury.
Yes.
Recruiting for your Avengers initiative.
Yes.
So that's like an inevitable one. I don't know if that would be like the one I would pick, but also I can't think of anything else at the moment.
Kingdom Hearts.
You're catching Heartless?
Now you have to fight them.
Oh. But then there's no collection. You collect keyblades,
yeah,
I guess?
You get keychains, you lock different keyholes.
Yeah.
You're either a light, a darkness, or a nobody.
Wait, actually, stop talking. We can't give Nomura ideas.
It's too late.
He is walking into his development room right now saying, I just had the most amazing idea,
Team
guys.
Light, Team Darkness,
Stop
Team
working
Heart.
Stop working on the DLC, quickly. We're making an AR game.
No. No.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like...
In, like, the second episode, I had a God of War AR game that I came up with.
Yeah, you did.
That was going to be pretty good.
That's not in the same vein as
No,
Pokemon
it's not
Go,
like
though.
Pokemon
It's like
Go at all. Yeah. When they do that, I hope that they credit me.
I hope so, too.
I came up with the idea.
Call me Sony Santa Monica.
We could do Digimon.
Oh, poor Digimon. You know, the interesting thing about Digimon is that the characters age.
Do they really?
Yeah, they're like in their 20s
now.
now.
Do the Digimon age?
I don't know if the Digimon age, but the Digimon
Can
trainers
Digimon age?
are like in their 20s now.
We could do a Yu-Gi-Oh one. Blech.
People like Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yu-Gi-Oh is trash.
Malin, please.
You heard it from me.
Malin, please.
Bite me on Twitter.
Please come back.
Please at me.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is bad. Send tweet.
That's me. Maybe I'm gonna tweet that right now.
Nobody will know what you're talking about
until listen to the show.
This comes out.
And they'll be like, wow.
I mean, this is live.
This is live.
I don't know why your tweet ended up sending.
In the past. Weird how Twitter works. What other games do you collect things?
I think we should.
Monopoly. My Hero could be fun.
Yeah. Just lean into the consumerism of the Hero Society.
Yeah, it's like
My Hero Monopoly, which does exist.
It does exist.
You can buy your favorite heroes.
Persona. And it just links you up with your friends.
Oh yeah, it could be Persona.
And you just have to go and meet your friends and do something fun. And then afterwards, you say if the confidant level went up.
Yeah.
Actually, I would be really into that.
They could even then also make the Persona sleep, because it would just be Morgana.
Yeah. This could work. A game that incentivizes you to go hang out with your real life friends.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we all need?
Yeah.
Excellent. Done. Atlas, give me a ring. Unless that Yu-Gi-Oh comment alienated you all before.
I don't think Atlas did Yu-Gi-Oh!
I know they didn't, but that doesn't mean they don't like Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's true.
I hope they don't. That would be
disappointing. Can't believe you've driven away these business opportunities.
Well, folks, it's been another episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm your anti-business success host, Madeline.
I'm your... Call me host, Emma.
Your capitalist trash.
That's me.
And we look forward to hosting you here with us again next week, where we'll talk about The Longest Journey and...
Deltarune.
I knew it. I just wanted to toss it to you. I didn't want to take all the credit for knowing all of it.
You definitely weren't going to say the Hidden Rune or something to that effect.
Kappa Rune.
Yeah.
You get to pick based on what sorority you were in.
Exactly.
So we'll be talking about that next week, which is July. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's still June.
Still June.
It's the last day of June.
Yes.
Can you believe the year's going by so fast, everybody?
I don't.
Well, thanks for tuning in for the side quest. See you next Sunday, everybody. Emma, you want to send the good folks off?
I hope this week somebody tells you that they think you're neat.